everyone, it's Joy here. Welcome back to my channel. So for today's projects, I'm using Spellbinders Paint Your World collection. So I'm using a few products from that and they turned out so darling. Now, I'm going to show you one background, even though I have two backgrounds. One of them I forgot to record, but they're the same and I'll show those together. And then one of them I'm going to add a bunch of splatters to. So I'm using some alcohol inks. I'm doing an alcohol inked background. Actually two, and I'm going to be using Office Depot's photo paper, and I'm using the back side, not the shiny side. I really like this paper because it actually doesn't stain. I'm using my blow dryer here to kind of move the alcohol inks around, and I want my alcohol inks kind of centered on a diagonal in the middle of this cardstock. This is an A2 size piece. I do trim it down for my projects, but this is starting with an A2 size piece. This color here is Pink Sherbet, and I'm using my Brass Pinata, which is the metallic alcohol ink. This color is Boysenberry. And so what I'm doing is just kind of laying this down and getting my color there. Then I'm going to work it from both sides to where it's kind of more centered in the middle of my cardstock. And it kind of ends up having some wispy edges. So I'm going to come in and add some stream in just a second, but I'm pushing some of that Boysenberry to the more of that center next to the Pink Sherbet because it was really kind of out far, if that makes sense. So here is the stream that I'm adding in here, and I'm going to push this close to that Boysenberry, and I love when it blends. It is so pretty. These two colors together are absolutely gorgeous. When I come in with just a little bit of alcohol, it's going to push that ink back. So I add a little drop there. I kind of push it into the alcohol ink, then I kind of push it back to where it picks up more of that color so I can move it around. If you see me putting my finger in the alcohol ink, it's because I'm trying to move some of the ink around, especially the metallic fixatives, things like that, I think can get stuck. So just put your finger in it, move it around just like that, and then it's going to blow around so much easier. So as you can see, I'm pushing in that Pink Sherbet and it's just making this really beautiful dark line, and then it's kind of feathering out from that center. So I'm just going to keep pushing that in. This really doesn't take super long. Adding just a little bit more of that pink because I just didn't have enough in that area. And then that Brass Pinata kind of builds up, and I think it's so stunning. So here's that other one that I did that I forgot to record. So it looks pretty much similar. But now I'm going to add a bunch of splatters to this one. So I'm using the same alcohol inks, adding a little bit of alcohol to it in my bowl, using a paintbrush and just splattering all over the background. The splatters to me were so much fun, even though my card with the non-splattered background is my favorite, but the backgrounds all together, this is my favorite. I'm adding that Brass Pinata with no alcohol in it. I don't want to dilute that, and I'm just splattering that everywhere. Then I'm going to add some plain alcohol to this little bowl, and then I've got this tiny paintbrush, and I just want to add dots in the center, but I really want to control it, so I'm not going to splatter it. But as I'm adding the dots, you can see it kind of wicks away that alcohol ink, and then we have these great little dots. And then one final thing that I will be doing is bringing in my white glaze pen and adding some dots in the center with that. Now you could leave that out. I don't think it made much of a difference because I didn't add a ton of them and I didn't make them very big, but I do want to make sure that my background is nice and dry before I do that. You can also use like acrylic pens, acrylic markers to do this, but I don't think this really kind of made the card at all. I think I probably could have left this out, or I should have made them bigger. Okay, so now here are the dies from the Paint Your World collection. Here's this first die, and I can't remember the name right now, and then I have these other two. So the first one Spellbinders sent me, and then these other two I decided to pick up. It's the Painted Blooms and the Artful brush. I will have all of these listed and linked below for you. But what I needed to do was do one more quick background. Well, it's not even a background. It's so when I can die cut the little paintbrush brush part of the die, I want it to be the same color as the background. So I want it to look like that paint has been all the way on that. So I'm just adding those colors, just kind of pushing it around. I'm not trying to make anything. I just want areas that I can die cut my images from. But I did throw in some of that brass pinata. I have to say that my first part of the video of the other alcohol ink backgrounds was done a couple weeks ago. And so this time I was like, oh my gosh, what are the colors that I used? So I had to remember because I forgot to write it down. So now that I have that done, I'm going to let that just sit to the side and die cut all my other things. I'm going to die cut that last. Here are the beautiful butterflies, and they have the outside piece, which cuts the whole butterfly, and then you have the inside piece, which is going to cut like the detail parts of the butterfly. So you actually can get two kinds of butterflies from those two dies. So I'm going to tape those in place. I am using Desert Sand glitter cardstock. This glitter doesn't fall off. This is a really nice glitter cardstock from Cardstock Warehouse. I'm going to die cut a bunch of those. And then here I am die cutting the brush pieces, and I'm die cutting 2 of each color. So there'll be 3 pieces total for each of the paintbrushes. So I'm going to do 2 of the blue, 2 of the purple, 2 of the pink. I'm just using my tool-in-one to help me kind of get those little pieces out because they are very fine. Then I'm taking those solid butterfly pieces, not the die cut pieces that are going to give it some decoration. I just want these solid pieces, and I'm going to die cut a bunch of butterflies from the leftover alcohol inked background pieces, because one of these is going to have like gold metallic, that gold glitter, and a gold mirror cardstock, and then the other background is going to have these die cut butterflies. Now I did make 3 cards total, so definitely hang in there with me for the third card, because the third card's completely different than these 2. And it turned out super, super, super cute. Okay, so I die cut from gold mirror cardstock the metal piece for the paintbrush. Now I don't need those little bottom pieces. I just showed those in the picture or in the video here because I'm not going to have the whole paintbrush on my cards. Now I'm going to adhere the centerpiece of my paintbrush bristles, that's the word, bristles, and then the other 2 on the outside. And I am making sure they line up with the direction of the alcohol ink on my backgrounds. But aren't those super, super cute? I love how these turned out. So I'm going to glue my second one. Again, I'm gluing it in the center first, and then the other 2 kind of off the side. And it overlaps a little bit, so it makes that center look just a little bit more full. Okay, so now here are those alcohol ink die cut butterflies. I am adding some gold mirror bodies to them with just a little bit of my liquid glue. I'm using the Barely Art glue, my reverse tweezers, and just putting those in place. And I'm just kind of laying out my card, and you can see how stunning this looks. Now, the ones at the very end obviously are white, because for this idea, I'm going to offset my centerpiece, which I trimmed down really small. And I want white butterflies going off the edge. So I want it to look like you're painting, and then even on the white part of the card, it's just the white butterflies, and there's no color on that. So that was my my little brainchild for this card. So I'm just lining up these butterflies with the color of the background. So the blue to the blue, the purple to the purple, and the pink to the pink. Just using some foam tape and some liquid glue to put these in place. And I want them to go in, you know, just facing different directions. But I kept this one pretty tight, where the next one, the butterflies were kind of spread out more. I just felt like this one, I liked that white space off of the top and bottom, and so I really wanted to keep the butterflies directly onto the colored background. Then I'm going to bring in the white butterflies and then put those at the end, and I just love this card. This is my most favorite one out of the whole thing. There's something that feels very serene about it, and so it is absolutely my favorite. So I'm just trying to figure out where the heck to get all these butterflies that I felt like I liked how it looked, and I kept moving those 2 right there, and finally I got it figured out. Then I'm going to have the sentiment that says, "My amazing friend." This was just in my stash. This is from Tailored Expressions. I popped that up with some foam tape, and I loved that pop of black. Okay, so this card is going to have the paintbrush coming from the top. Now, because there's splatters everywhere, I felt like I could make the butterflies kind of go all over the card. So they won't be in as tightly, laid out as tightly as the first card, but I love how this looks. So this is Gold Mirror and the Desert Sand cardstock, and both of those are from Cardstock Warehouse. So I'm going to put that in place, put a Make-A-Wish sentiment, and this is trimmed down slightly smaller than an A2 size, and then it's on a top fold white card base. And then I'm coming in with some gold sequence from, gold sequence, and that is from Studio Katya. Okay, that was that card. Now let's go on to our third card. This is a slimline card. I have die cut all of the leaves and flowers, and I'm just going to be doing ink blending for this whole thing, except for the brush. I did die cut that from Craft Cardstock. And so I'm using some sage here, and I am just ink blending all of the leaves the same color. It's keeping it very simple, but this is really a super colorful card. So I'm just using my Waffle Flower mini stencil mat. And this is, what ink is this? This is the Shaded Lilac. These are Distress Oxide inks. And I'm just using this mat to ink it up. It cleans up obviously with water because it's a Distress Oxide. And I just wipe it down and it keeps my work surface so clean. So here are these flowers. So you're going to have a small and a large, and you're going to stack these on top of each other. I'm finally using the Saltwater Taffy, you guys. I have not used this ink. I've had it and then totally forgot that I had it. And I just happened to see it when I was doing this project, so I'm so glad. I colored 3 of those flowers that color. Then I have salvaged patina, and then I'm coming in with the Shaded Lilac for the other colors. Then I'm going to have the centers, which is going to be Lemonade. Super, super simple. And I like this spring color. It's the spring colors that I used for this card. I think it's just so super, super colorful. And if you've noticed, I don't tend to use purple a lot, and I did a lot in these projects, which was really kind of nice. Okay, this is the Diamond Plaid embossing folder from Spellbinders, and it is going to do your embossing for a slimline, which is perfect. So I did that. I'm going to trim that down to a slimline size. Now I'm going to put together the end of this paintbrush. I have some silver mirror cardstock on some craft cardstock. I've got the white brushes. I die cut 6 of those, and I'm going to just stack them on top of each other because I want it to feel kind of thick. This one I'm going to leave white because we've got this super cute paint drips that we did the shading with the Shaded Lilac. I'm going to glue 2 of those together and adhere that down. Then I will just trim off the edges because it is just a tad bit wider the way I did it, and I'll just trim that off. And then we've got these great little paint drips. Now I will be adding this to my card base upright, not hanging down. So now let's adhere this together. This back piece is trimmed down 8 1/4 by 3 1/4. I have a white slimline panel, which is 8 1/2 by 3 1/2. I'm using some foam tape for dimension behind the paintbrush. Then I have to put the flowers together, and then I'm going to lay everything out and adhere it. I really love how this card turned out. I think it's so, so pretty. And I don't know, something about these paintbrushes are absolutely darling. I'm adding just a little bit of liquid glue in the centers, stacking the smaller flower on top of the larger flower, and then adding that yellow center. This goes really super quick, so you really could die cut a bunch of these flowers. You also could just die cut this stuff from, colored cardstock and make your life simple, but I really wanted specific colors for this background. So I'm going to adhere everything together on this card. I do want to say, if you guys like what you're watching, if you like my videos, please subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell and hit all so you will get every notification for all of my videos. If you do, thank you so very much. Thank you for all of my viewers all the time. I appreciate you guys. I enjoy your comments, so definitely comment, and I will always try to make sure that I can comment back. And definitely share with your crafty friends. I really appreciate it, and thumbs up if you like it. Okay, so now I'm just getting these flowers in place. That little flower on top, I'm just lifting up the petals, which is going to give these guys a little bit of a 3D dimension. And I'm just laying them out using some liquid glue. Some of them have some foam tape, making sure that I can kind of get the colors spread out nicely. And then these are almost finished. Then I decided when I was doing it, I thought splatters all over the background would be really cute. So I do have a little splatter box that I'm going to bring in here, and we're going to do some splattering with the same color of inks minus the green. that I did for the ink blending. Then I decided to also bring in some black soot to add that at the end. So I just pressed the ink pads on my work surface because I have a glass mat, spraying it with a little bit from my distress sprayer, a little bit of water, dipping in my paintbrush and just tapping that all around. I want it on everything, and I'm paying attention and making sure I'm getting it all over the background, on the leaves, on the flowers, everything. So here is that lemonade. I'm coming in with that. Then I'm going to finish off with the black soot, and I feel like the black soot really kind of made everything else stand out. So again, adding a little bit of water and then popping that on, and I love how this background turned out. Then I have a sentiment that says happy birthday. That's these sentiments were done with Tailored Expressions. They're simple strips, and it is on black cardstock, and it's white heat embossed. I'm going to bring in some white butterflies that have some gold mirror bodies, and I did not want those to have splatters on them, so I left those out. And then here is that sentiment. I'm just going to pop that in place, and then this card is finished. Add a little bit of glue there to hold that sentiment down, and this is so lovely. I love how this turned out. It's a great slimline card, and I think anybody would love to get this. Then we've got these fantastic alcohol ink backgrounds, which are just amazing. And this one just feels super busy, but in a good way. And then this one, this is my favorite one. I love how this turned out. All of that alcohol ink backgrounds and these fun Paint Your World collections is just fantastic. Thank you guys so very much for stopping by and watching. I hope that you enjoyed this project, and I hope that you feel inspired, and I will be back soon with another video. Bye.